I knew exactly what I was supposed to be doing. I'd already built the outline for a teaching, a course. And the next step was simple: expand it, flesh out the bullets, turn it from good ideas into actual content. Nothing was unclear. There wasn't some missing piece. I wasn't stuck. I just didn't want to. And I could feel that resistance in my body. My brain was already looking for an exit. So instead of opening the outline, I walked into our game room and I started moving furniture. Big furniture, couches, shelving, chairs that absolutely did not need to be lifted by one person. Very because I said so vibes. That thing that the women in the movie do when they're stressed and avoiding their feelings. Instead of doing the emotionally heavy thing, they rearrange their living room like it's going to fix something internal. Yeah, that was me. And while I'm doing it, I'm not thinking, I'm avoiding my work. No, I'm thinking, this is productive. I'm doing something. This is a good use of my time. And honestly, I think I even convinced myself that if I could just find the right setup in that room, I would feel more focused, be more productive. Like the room itself was the thing standing between me and greatness, which, let's be real, the original setup was fine. But the room isn't set up right is a way more pleasant problem to solve. Much more pleasant than I don't want to confront this outline. So I keep going, dragging, adjusting, standing back, tilting my head like I'm in a design competition, taking pictures of the space, looking at it, moving things 2 inches to the left. No, wait, now it's worse. I've got to move it back. And hours pass. Hours. And the whole time, that teaching outline is still sitting there, waiting, unexpanded, unbothered. But I'm tired in that satisfying way. The way you get tired when you've been doing things. So by the end of the day, I'm excited. Like, I cannot wait to show my husband what I've done. He comes home and I'm basically like, look, I did something. And then he asks, so did you work on your course today? And I'm standing there so proud, looking at my masterpiece of a room. And I'm like, well, no. But doesn't this room look so much better? And that's when it hit me. I had been productive. I had just been productive in the wrong direction.
You're managing what you always do, but your brain feels scattered and you just can't seem to pull it together. The Busy Brain Do-Over from Steady State Co. is your space to recover, reset, and restart, proud of how you show up again. Because you're not the problem, and you're not alone. Here, you'll find real tools and honest conversations to help you feel capable, steady, and like yourself again. Here's your host, Candace David, a fellow busy brain who believes life doesn't have to run perfectly to run well.
And this is where things start to feel confusing. Because when you look at a day like that from the outside, it doesn't look like avoidance. Maybe a little bit to some of you, but it looks like effort. You didn't scroll all day. You didn't zone out. You didn't do nothing. You were busy, engaged, moving things forward. So when you still feel behind at the end of the day, your brain doesn't say, I avoided something. It says, at least I got stuff done. And that's what makes this pattern so sneaky and different than the one we talked about in episode 16. If you're not a rearrange the furniture person, this can look way more ordinary. Answering emails, cleaning out a drawer, organizing a list, cleaning your whole room, doing anything that lets you stay busy without touching the hard thing. Because this isn't procrastination in the obvious sense. This is productivity that feels responsible. Cleaning, organizing, rearranging, tackling something new, fixing something that's been mildly annoying for a while. Things that give you motion and relief and a sense of accomplishment. But underneath all of that movement, the thing you actually needed to do is still untouched. And that's when the quiet frustration shows up. Not panic, not failure, just that lingering feeling of, why do I keep doing so much and still feel behind? Here's the part I want you to hear clearly. This isn't because you're lazy, and it's not because you don't care. It's because some tasks carry an emotional cost. Uncertainty, vulnerability, visibility, effort without immediate payoff. And your brain is really, really good at steering you toward productive relief instead. So if you've ever ended a day thinking, I worked so hard, why does it feel like it didn't count? That's the moment we're talking about today. Hi, my busy brain friends. Before we keep going, hit that follow button so your next do-over finds you right when you need it. If you've already subscribed, thank you, and consider this your high five for being ahead of the game. You never know when the next episode's going to be the one that gives you that deep exhale you've been craving. Here's a do-over for this week. I call it the task-happy do-over. And it starts the same way, by interrupting the hunt. Because when your brain is avoiding something emotionally heavy, for some of us, it doesn't shut down. It gets busy. It looks for movement, for usefulness, for something that lets you stay active instead of present. So the moment you notice yourself reaching for a new task, cleaning, organizing, rearranging, fixing, starting something helpful but unrelated, pause. Not to stop yourself, not to force a different choice, just to name what's happening. And ask yourself, what feeling would I have to sit with if I didn't do this right now? Not what task you're avoiding, what feeling you're avoiding. Maybe it's uncertainty. Maybe it's self-doubt. Maybe it's pressure. Maybe it's the vulnerability of trying and not knowing if it'll go well. Whatever comes up, you don't have to solve it. You don't have to talk yourself out of it. You don't have to push past it. The do-over is simply this. Stay with the feeling for a beat longer than you usually would. 30 seconds. One breath. Long enough to let your nervous system register. I can feel this and survive it. You're not asking your brain to stop protecting you. You're showing it that the feeling it's dodging is uncomfortable, but not unsafe. And that's the work. Not choosing a different task, not being more disciplined, not, quote unquote, doing the hard thing. Just practicing being with the emotional cost without immediately numbing it with productivity. That's how avoidance loosens. Not by force, but by safety. Here's your permission slip for today. You are allowed to stop using productivity as proof that you're okay. You're allowed to notice, I'm doing a lot, and I'm still avoiding something. without turning that into a character judgment. You're allowed to admit that sometimes the hardest part of a task isn't the work. It's the feeling you'd have to sit with if you slowed down. And you are allowed to protect yourself without defaulting to productivity as a way to avoid discomfort. You don't have to push through. You don't have to force focus. You don't have to earn rest by rearranging the room first. You are allowed to pause inside the urge to stay busy and say, something in me needs safety right now. That pause counts. That awareness counts. That is not weakness, it's regulation. And learning how to stay with discomfort without numbing it with productivity, that's real progress. If you've been listening and thinking, ugh, I need this kind of reminder more than once a week, I've got you. Join my newsletter, The Weekly Do-Over. It's my short midweek note that drops right when life starts spinning again. Part pep talk, part permission slip, all real life. You'll get practical encouragement, behind-the-scenes stories, and simple resets that actually fit your busy brain. Go to mybusybrain.com/join because waiting until next week to get grounded again is way too long. All right, my fellow busy brain friends, take a breath, give yourself a little grace, and remember, you can always start again. That's what a do-over really is. Not perfection, just permission. Talk soon.